If you've made it this far, you're officially part of our story. Tell us where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. We love seeing our stories travel across the globe. And if you felt even a flicker of emotion during today's tale, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because tomorrow, we're diving into a story even more haunting, more unforgettable. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. See you in the next chapter. It was a rainy Tuesday night in Manhattan, the kind of night when the city slows down just a little, when even the sirens outside seem to fade beneath the sound of falling rain. At St. Vincent Medical Center, the emergency room buzzed, as usual, nurses moving fast, patients groaning in pain, the scent of antiseptic thick in the air. But everything changed the moment she walked in. She didn't look like someone who belonged in the ER. No signs of injury, no visible panic, just a quiet presence, a calmness that stood in strange contrast to the chaos around her. Her name was Leila Carter, 27 years old, around 5'7", with soft hazel eyes that seemed to carry a lifetime of secrets. Her long dark hair clung to her coat, still damp from the rain. She wore a simple gray sweater and jeans, nothing fancy, and yet everyone noticed her. Not because she demanded attention, but because there was something about her silence that whispered louder than any scream. Jake Reynolds, the hospital's night shift security officer, noticed her too. 31 years old, 6 feet tall, former Marine turned peacekeeper in the ER. He had seen all kinds of people come through those doors: addicts, criminals, survivors, fighters, but never someone like Leila. She didn't check in right away, just sat in the waiting area, still, like she was waiting for something or someone. Hours passed. Patients came and went. Jake kept glancing her way, curious but cautious. Every time their eyes met, she gave him a faint smile. It wasn't flirtatious, it wasn't desperate. It felt grateful, as if she knew he was watching over her. By 3 a.m., most of the waiting room had cleared out. Only a handful of patients remained. Jake, unable to contain his curiosity, finally approached her. He introduced himself, made a casual joke about how rainy nights brought out all the city's ghosts. She smiled again, then said softly, "Sometimes, the ghosts are the ones who come for shelter, too." Jake paused. It wasn't the kind of response you'd expect from a woman sitting alone in an ER. There was something in her voice, a sadness, a knowing that made the hair on his arm stand up. Still, he nodded, gave a half smile, and returned to his desk. But from that moment on, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Who was this woman who showed up out of nowhere, without injury, without explanation? Why did her presence feel both calming and unsettling? And most importantly, what was she waiting for? Jake didn't know it yet, but that night was just the beginning. Leila Carter had stepped into that hospital carrying more than just secrets. She brought with her a story that would unravel everything Jake thought he understood about life and death. Jake couldn't sleep the next day, even after clocking out at 6 a.m. and heading home through the wet Manhattan streets. His thoughts stayed in the waiting room with her. Leila Carter. There was something about her that didn't make sense. A patient's always had a story on accident, a sickness, a reason, but she had given none. No ID, no insurance, no emergency contact, just a name, and a presence that stirred something deep in Jake's gut. It wasn't was instinct? Something was off. When Jake returned to work that night, the first thing he did was check the logbook. Leila had never signed in. No medical file, no discharge. According to hospital records, she had never even been there. But Jake knew she had. As the night went on, Jake found himself watching the entrance, half expecting her to walk through those sliding doors again. And sure enough, at exactly 10:47 p.m. she did. Same sweater, same quiet eyes. But this time, her hands were shaking. She sat in the exact same chair as the night before. Didn't say a word. Didn't look around. Just waited. Jake approached her slowly. "Back again?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. She looked up. "Some things take time," she whispered. Her voice was steady, but her eyes, they were tired. "Haunted, Leila," he said gently. "Do you need help? I mean real help, a doctor, someone to talk to?" She shook her head. "Not yet." Jake sat across from her, against protocol. But protocol didn't seem to apply to her. There was something about this woman that made the rules feel irrelevant. For a long time, neither of them spoke, and then, quietly, she said, "Do you ever feel like this place is a bridge between two worlds?" He blinked. "The hospital." She nodded. "The living, and whatever's next." Jake stared at her, chills creeping up his spine. She wasn't speaking metaphorically, he could feel it. Every word carried weight, like it had been rehearsed over lifetimes. That night, the ER felt colder. The lights flickered twice, though maintenance had just replaced the bulbs. One of the monitors in ICU started beeping erratically, even though the patient was stable. Small things, but together, they added up to something Jake couldn't explain. And Leila, she never left by morning. She was gone, but no one had seen her walk out. Jake checked the cameras. Footage cut out at 3:03 a.m. for exactly 6 minutes. When it returned, the chair was empty. Now he had questions and no answers. Who was she? Why did the hospital logs ignore her? And why did her presence seem to stir the very air around her? Jake's curiosity had turned into something sharper, something deeper. He wasn't just watching her anymore, he was being pulled into something far bigger than he understood. And deep down, he knew, this wasn't just a mystery. This was a warning. After that night, Jake stopped pretending everything was normal. He'd seen strange things before. Working night shifts meant witnessing more than your fair share of bizarre cases. But nothing like this. Nothing like her. He replayed the footage over and over again. That 6-minute blackout where the camera feed had gone dead. He even asked IT casually if the system had been hacked or if there'd been a power surge. But they found nothing. The network had been stable. Power uninterrupted. It was as if those minutes had simply vanished. And yet, Leila had vanished with them. The next night, Jake showed up early, earlier than usual. He didn't clock in, he just waited. And at exactly 10:47 p.m., the automatic doors slid open. And she appeared. Same clothes, same chair, same silence. He approached her slowly. "Leila," he said, more firmly this time. "What is going on?" She looked up, calm as ever. "You're not ready to know," she said softly. Jake felt his frustration boil. "Then why do you keep coming back? Why here? Why me?" Leila turned her eyes to him, Rayleigh, looked at him for the first time. And what he saw in them didn't belong to a 27-year-old woman. It was older, it was ancient. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small photograph. It was old, faded, almost sepia-toned. In the photo was a man, wearing a security uniform. The name tag read Reynolds. But it wasn't Jake, or was it? The man looked just like him, same jawline, same eyes, but the photo looked like it was taken in the 1940s. Jake stared, his mouth dry. "What the hell is this? I've been here before," Leila whispered. "So have you." Jake felt a chill run straight through his bones. That night, everything changed. He started noticing more than just flickering lights. The hospital's temperature readings began to spike and dip at random. Rooms that had been empty would suddenly have activity logs. Patients in room 304 kept reporting dreams of a woman with hazel eyes watching them in the corner of the room. Leila never checked in. She never showed up on security reports, and yet, every night 10:47 sharp she returned. Jake stopped sleeping altogether. He began keeping a journal. A log. He wrote down every word she said, every expression she made. He started digging through old hospital records, looking for anything, any clue, and that's when he found an article. Yellowed, clipped from a 1952 newspaper. Young woman found dead after fleeing medical trial, believed to have died near St. Vincent's. The photo attached, Leila Carter, same eyes, same hair, same age. She hadn't aged a day in 70 years. Jake dropped the paper, heart racing. She wasn't just a mystery, she was impossible. And now, he had a feeling she wasn't showing up at the hospital randomly, she was coming back. For him, Jake didn't want to believe it. He told himself the article had to be wrong, someone with the same name. Maybe a coincidence. But deep down, he knew better. The woman in that 1952 photo was Leila. Same face, same eyes. Unchanged for over 70 years. For the next few nights, Jake watched her more closely than ever. He stopped asking questions out loud. Instead, he studied her timing, her movements, the way she never touched anything or anyone, how her breath never fogged up the cold glass in the waiting room. He started to feel like she wasn't just passing through. She was trapped, and worse so was he. That week, a patient from room 304 coded suddenly. No warning signs. Just flatlined. Jake reviewed the hallway footage and noticed something chilling. In the exact minute the monitors began to spike, Leila was seen standing outside the patient's room, not on camera but reflected in the polished metal door frame, like she was there, but not. That same night, she didn't sit in her usual chair. She stood by the vending machines. Hands folded, eyes closed, like she was waiting for a signal. Jake approached cautiously. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, voice low. "I'm not the one doing it," she whispered. "But it's starting again." "What is—" She looked at him, and her voice barely held together. They tried to control time. Human memory. Identity. The experiment wasn't just about healing. It was about preserving. Jake's pulse pounded in his ears. She continued, "I escaped before they completed it. But part of me, something they altered it, stayed behind. I've been stuck between moments ever since." "You're saying? You're not alive." "I'm saying time forgot me," she said. "And now it's remembering." Suddenly, alarms blared from the West Wing, lights flickered violently, and the building shook not like an earthquake, but like a ripple, as if reality had hiccuped. Staff rushed past, patients screamed, monitors crashed to the floor, but Leila didn't move. She stood calmly, like she'd seen it before. Jake grabbed her arm and froze. Her skin wasn't cold, it was absent. His hand passed through her like mist before snapping back with a force that left his fingertips numb. She stared at him with something between sadness and warning. "The place is waking up," she said. "You've stayed too close." "That's how it starts." Jake stumbled back, heart pounding. The halls stretched strangely now, lights elongating, time skipping frames like a broken film reel. Whatever she'd been part of, whatever was done to her, hadn't ended. It had been waiting, and now, with Jake connected to her, it was reaching for him, too. He looked around, realizing too late this wasn't just about Leila anymore. This hospital wasn't just haunted, it was infected, and something buried deep beneath. It was beginning to stir. Jake didn't go home after his shift ended. He couldn't. Not after what he'd seen, what he'd felt. His fingertips still tingled from the moment they passed through Leila's arm, like static clinging to the edge of something unreal. The hospital felt different now. Not just haunted, but alive in the wrong way. Rooms no longer stayed where they were supposed to. One nurse swore room 309 had moved down the hall overnight. A patient claimed to see two versions of the same doctor walk in at once, then vanish mid-sentence. The air vents began whispering, not wind, not pipes, but voices. Familiar ones. Jake heard his own name at least twice, and Leila, she was there, every night, still at 10:47 p.m., but she was fading. Literally. Each night, she looked more translucent. Her voice echoed strangely, like it came from down a long tunnel. She told Jake the fractures were widening, and soon, the hospital would become a door. To what? She wouldn't say. But she was afraid. That night something changed. A man entered through the ambulance bay hall, in a black coat, clipboard in hand, no ID. He asked to see the Carter girl. No one had mentioned her. No records existed. But somehow, he knew Jake followed him down the hallway. His footsteps didn't echo. The man walked straight toward the waiting room, where Leila sat, staring directly at Jake. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in warning. She stood, backed away slowly, then whispered, "He's part of it." He was always part of it. Jake stepped in between them. "You need to leave," he told the man. "I'm here for what belongs to us," the man said coldly, pulling a metal syringe from his coat. Jake didn't hesitate. He tackled him. They hit the floor hard. The syringe clattered away, sliding under a row of chairs. But when Jake tried to pin the man, his body dissolved in, not like magic, but like light breaking apart into static. Leila reached for Jake as alarms exploded throughout the ER. Walls shook, lights shattered, reality bent. Jake grabbed her hand, even though it meant pain, even though her form wasn't fully solid, and pulled her into the nearest stairwell. The walls behind them pulsed like lungs. Something was coming. Something ancient. Something the hospital had buried long ago beneath operating rooms and basement corridors. On the third-floor landing, Leila collapsed. She looked up at him, barely there, her voice a thin thread. "You could leave, but if you stay, they'll see you too. You'll never be the same." Jake looked down at her, this woman who had haunted his nights, broken the rules of life and death, and begged not for saving but for understanding. He made his choice. "I'm not leaving you." He turned toward the echoing footsteps in the stairwell below and braced himself, because whatever came next, Jake Reynolds was no longer just a guard. He was part of the story now, and the story had just begun. If you've made it to the end of this story, take a moment to breathe. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think is really going on inside St. Vincent Medical Center? Is Leila a ghost, a time traveler, or something else entirely? And Jake, did he make the right choice? Staying behind? Drop your theories, thoughts, or even your wildest guesses in the comments. I read every single one. You never know, your comment might inspire the next chapter. And while you're at it, let us know where you're watching from. Whether you're in New York, Manila, London, or a quiet town in between. Your voice matters here. If you felt the tension, if something in this story stuck with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because tomorrow, we dive even deeper into the mystery. A new twist is coming. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.